Good morning, Canadian taxpayers. Today we're covering the 2018 federal budget. Brought to you by Justin, the budget will balance itself, Trudeau, and Billy, Porno, Monroe. You may remember Billy from such budgets as the 2017 federal budget. He's also been accused by the member of Carleton for insider trading.
On December 7th, 2015, the Minister of Finance introduced a motion in the House of Commons to raise taxes effective January 1st of the forthcoming year. The stock market dropped, and so did Morneau by 5 percentage points, but not before someone could sell $10 million in Morneau shares 1 week before that drop and that bill was introduced. Can the Minister tell us who sold those shares?
Let me save you the trouble of listening to Bill's answer. Kind of sounded like this.
The Minister's office told John Ivison that he sold 680,000 Morneau shares. At 10:25 on November 30th, 2015, someone sold 680,000 Morneau shares. That someone would have saved $500,000 by avoiding the drop in the stock market that followed his introduction of tax measures in this House of Commons. So is it just a coincidence that those two transactions line up so carefully? Or in fact, did the minister jump the gun and sell his shares before he introduced his tax measures?
Did Wild Bill lose his job after that? Nope, they put him in charge of the 2017 federal budget. And then, in 2017, he was fined for failing to disclose his private corporations in the south of France to the ethics commissioner. And of course, we would get him in trouble after that, wouldn't we? Nope. We fined him $200 and put him in charge of the 2018 federal budget.
The Minister of Finance is always forgetting things. He forgot his keys, he forgot his villa in France, he forgot even the corporation he holds that villa inside of. He forgot the $30 million of shares in Morneau. He forgot to put that into a blind trust, and he forgot today to tax any of his own family fortune. Why is it that the only thing that this minister doesn't forget is his wallet?
So Trudy and Billy Porno are going to borrow $15 billion off foreign banks to invest in things like closing the gender wage gap. Justin Trudeau is so bent on virtue signaling that his 2018 budget actually references gender 358 times. Now, you all know how I feel about the gender wage gap, and in case you don't, here's a quick study. The American Association of University of Women, a feminist organization, says that once you factor in all the choices that men and women make, including jobs, education, position, occupation, hours worked per week, the gap shrinks to about 6.6 cents. In fact, in 2009, the U.S. Department of Labor released a paper covering 50 different studies of the gender wage gap, and all they concluded that the 23-cent wage gap was entirely because of individual choices. So what's your plan, Justin? Do you want to force women to go into trades that they don't want to do? I thought the entire essence of feminism was about choice. But Trudy and Porno are committed to throwing money at a fictional problem. On page 44 of the budget, it says how increasing women's participation in traditionally male-dominated occupations and encouraging men to work in traditionally female-dominated occupations, challenging gender stereotypes that reinforce notions of appropriate work for men and women. So, what's Trudy going to do to solve this problem?
Why are your deficits good and their deficits bad?
If you want to tabulate them, you can go on our website and do that. I'm more focused on actually talking about what we're going to do right away for Canadians than sitting there with a calculator, which you guys can do.
Women are going to receive a grant for their efforts. They're going to receive $3,000 for each of their first 2 years of training, up to $6,000. This, in combination with the existing apprenticeship completion grant valued at $2,000, will result in a combined $8,000 in support. Now, I think women going into the trades is a great idea. Experts predict that in the future we're going to have a shortage of skilled trade workers here in Canada. So, if it's all about gender equality, do you think Justin Trudeau is going to give any money to guys that want to go into female-dominated occupations? No, why would he do that, bigot? Here in Canada, if you want to become an industrial electrician, you're better off going to get a sex change so you can get $8,000 worth of government grants. Now, I don't know about you, but I just don't know a whole lot of women that want to install an electrical panel next to a toilet that Vito just plugged after he finished doing the drywall. I don't know that many women that want to be turd burglars either. Now think about after Vito's done taking that shit. Somebody has to go in there and clean up that mess. Not too many women want to come home after work looking like this. I'm sure next year they're going to point out about how much money they saved in the budget because nobody used these useless fucking programs. Don't worry, good old Billy Porno Monroe is going to make sure all that money gets used. What else do we know about Billy Porno? His company was formed in 2008 when Monroe acquired Chappelle for $321.9 million. Now, who's Chappelle? Chappelle is Canada's largest provider of employee health management and workplace training and education services. So they take government grants just like the ones we talked about earlier for women's programs. Billy's going to make sure all that money gets used under Chappelle's name, I bet. So essentially, he acquired a company that takes government funding, knowing that he's going to be the finance minister and allocating a whole bunch of funding for government programs. The name's Willie, not silly. Well, Monroe Chappelle, they were accused of insider trading. It was reported that Mr. Monroe and his father sold Monroe Chappelle shares before the tax change announcement in December 2015. Media reports state that Mr. Monroe sold 680,000 shares for proceeds of $10.1 million before December 7, 2015. Subsequently, Mr. Monroe is said to have sold an additional 320,000 shares on December 17, 2015, for a profit of $4.5 million, which he donated to charity. It was later reported that Mr. Monroe's father sold 100,000 shares in Monroe Chappelle on November 23, 2015, and 100,000 shares in Monroe Chappelle on December 3, 2015. Yep, we can trust Billy Porno, that's for sure. Trudy Poo wants the world to know he's such a feminist that he's giving $2 billion over 5 years to the International Assistance Envelope. I don't even know what the fuck that is, but he's just borrowing money from international bankers to give to other countries. I don't know why we're borrowing money to send to other countries to help women when we're inviting so many women here. If you look at page 211 of the federal budget, the irregular migration and managing the border, $85.5 million is to enable the Canada Border Service to continue their normal services of helping migrants across the border. But now, this year, they're adding an extra $173 million to support security operations at the Canada-US border and the processing of asylum claimants arriving in 2018-19. Funding would be used to manage the increased number of people seeking asylum in Canada this year, many of whom arrive with their families seeking quick, safe, and compassionate processing. Well, they're going to want housing and food because they're not coming with anything. We're just taking Trump's garbage. So instead of fixing the actual problem, he's going to throw $173 million at it. There's a whole lot more I'd like to cover about the 2018 federal budget, but I do this as a hobby. It's not my job, and I kind of want to enjoy the rest of my Sunday. Now, if I could get a hold of some of that liberal funding that they're talking about on page 183, investing in Canadian content, they're giving $172 million over 5 years to maintain the level of funding in the Canadian media. So that would be things like your CTV, your CBC, any of the other ones that really like to boost Justin. Now on the same page, just underneath, it talks about supporting local journalism and how it's going to provide $50 million over 5 years to one or more independent non-governmental organizations. Now, my guess is they're probably just going to give $50 million to one. But if I could get some help, I wouldn't mind getting some of that money too. I like to do this shit, and if I could get paid to cover this stuff, I would bring a lot more Canadian content that you would enjoy seeing. I'm going to leave links to the 2018 federal budget underneath, and I'm also going to leave links to my Twitter. That's it for today. I'm going to enjoy my day. Peace out. I love this country, and I'm sure you do too. But how much do you actually know about its electoral process? God knows how boring it is to watch the fucking Parliament channel. But let's try and find out together, so we can make educated guesses on who to vote for. try to put our best foot forward as Canadians. The purpose of these videos is so that we can learn together. I'd appreciate any comments and info below, and I'll be the first to admit I'm going to screw up a lot, but I will address it if I can and try to put the truth forward for everybody. Peace out.